Hi everybody, sanibonani, welcome to my channel. Igama lami nguNtando Mdletshe, and on this channel siyasifunda incwadi ebhalwe ngolimi lwesiZulu bese siza la sokhuluma ngazo lezo incwadi. Senzela laba phela abasuke bengenaso isikhathi sokuyifunda incwadi nalabo abasuke benqena nje ukufunda. Siyaphinda futhi sibuka ama-reality shows ethu ala eMzansi bese siza la sokhuluma ngawo lama shows, senza ama-reviews ama-recaps bese siyaphinda futhi sikhuluma nga-any other issues avukayo uma ngabe lama shows sesiwabukile kwi-TV. Uma ngabe uqala ujoyine namhlanje and you really like our content, do not forget to press the subscribe button la ngezansi bese uyaphinda futhi upressa i-notification bell ukuze phela uthole umyalezo uma ngabe umsebenzi omusha ufakile. Kanjalo futhi uma ufuna ukuba member ye-channel, please press the join button below and follow the instructions on how to become a member of the channel. And if you want to thank the channel in monetary terms, there's a thanks button la ngezansi, you can press it and follow the instructions on how to thank the channel. Namhlanje na ngifuna senze a full review or a full recap of the show called Gogo Skhotheni. It's season 1, so it's the first season, and it seems to be quite interesting because she's bringing something that we are not used to, which is polyandry. Polyandry. And yeah, it's interesting, you guys. It's a show that I look forward to. It has become one of those shows that I look forward to the next episode just to see what happens. But you guys, I'm not gonna really talk a lot about the timelines because I really think Umoja Love has gotten our timelines mixed up. Gogo Skhotheni will be pregnant in one scene and then not pregnant on the other. They did try to fix it this episode by putting maybe in one scene she's pregnant and then the next she's not, and then they will say a few months ago, but it still didn't make sense. So we won't really focus on the timelines because they're still as confusing to me. Was she pregnant when she was shooting the show or was she not? So by a pambil, by a move. So it's fine, it's Moja Love. It's Moja Love. Sometimes we let them get away with these things. So when the episode begins, Monde is still talking to his uncles, and I think the others are his cousins, about the whole thing. You go koka ilobola. And yeah, and then one of his uncles is talking about the fact that izangoma can get away with anything. Some of them drink, some of them smoke, because a lot of the times by bathi bangenwe abesilisa or bangenwe or gogo or whatever. And then I don't know why, but someone asked him ukuthi uzothatha amakhosikazi amangaki. So since bona kubo kaMondo they can ask him that question, I'm hoping that it means ukuthi Gogo Skhotheni mase introduce indaba yokuthi ufuna ama husband zawo too, they won't have a problem with it, because now they didn't have a problem asking Monde, which means Monde, if Monde answered and said yes, I'm gonna take 2 wives or 3 wives, they were gonna be okay with it. So we're gonna see how they react to Udumi wanting to take 2 husbands, because I was worried about their reaction, but we will see, because there's always hypocrisy when it comes to these things. It's okay, but when it's the other way around, and then umalume just casually says ukuthi anyway uGogo Skhotheni uzomlokha uMonde, meaning ukuthi uzomdlisa ukuthi angaboni abanye. So vele probably ngeke akwazi ukuthi athathe amanye amakhosikazi for that reason. I like how in these shows nje kukhulunywa ngokudlisa abantu, ngokuthakatha, so casually, it's not a big deal. Yeah, isangoma vele sizomlokha. Bakhulume ngathi it's such a normal thing, but yeah, that's what he says ukuthi so uzomlokha, which means ukuthi he won't wander and look at other women because vele uzobe esedlisiwe. But Monde makes a decision to not tell them about the second husband. Efuna Gogo Skhotheni, I guess he's not ready. Uthi usafuna ukuzama ukuyisolve that problem on his own, and ufuna ukuqhubeka nendaba yamalobolo. Only after that will he tell them, I guess he feels like they won't want to go and pay lobolo for Dumi if they already know ukuthi she's planning to take the second husband. So ufuna ukuthi bamsize, and then maybe after then they will, and they will know about it, which I guess kind of makes sense. And I feel like honestly uMonde usevumile ukuthi enathathe umkhwena wesibili, because why would he continue to pay ilobola when the husband number 2 issue is not yet resolved? For me, he might as well have said yes to it, because he's still going on about paying ilobola and all of that. If he really was like, I'm not going to be in a relationship where there's one wife and 2 husbands, I do not think that he will go ahead with paying ilobola. But I think another possibility is that all of this, they're just acting, even though I did read that article last week from Drum saying Utomi is already married to the second husband. So yeah, or maybe he didn't think it was really going to happen. Maybe he just thought that they're doing it for the show, and it's really going to happen, because they're talking about us seeing the second husband in season 2. Okay, and yeah, I guess phela futhi akhona ama possibilities ukuthi uMondo already udlisiwe, because akayifuni indaba ka second husband, but he's moving on with the lobola. It's almost like he can't help it. So kungenzeka ukuthi already usedlisiwe. So whether he likes the second husband or not, he's going to move ahead with ilobolo, because he doesn't really have a choice. Then the second scene, because the conversation yakhe with the uncles and the cousins iyaphela, and he's supposed to be leaving, but ucela one of his cousins to get in the car. This one cousin is really close with Utomi, and angazi ngisolisile nje le conversation lena yabo, but let me talk about ukuthi how did it go, and maybe you guys can make your own judgment. Laba abayibukile now, you can make a judgment from what you see. And then uyamtshela cousin wakho ukuthi okay, Utomi wants to take a second husband, and ile inkinga nayo, and njengamanje bengakabi ready ukuthi atshele umuntu, but ufuna ukutshela yena. Umonde, the reason he's telling this particular cousin is because they are very close, this cousin, with Utomi. And I was surprised by how he was not shocked, this cousin. So it's either Umonde had already told this cousin, but away from the cameras, but Umojalav wanted that scene, and they said, okay, you have to redo it, you have to pretend as if you're telling him for the first time, which might be the explanation why he wasn't shocked, because I would be shocked if my cousin or whatever, my brother, is coming to tell me ukuthi unkosikazi wakhe wants to take a second husband. But he didn't seem shocked. So I thought there is a possibility that he already knew. So it was hard for him to act like he was surprised. So, and then, okay, so uyambuza ukuthi wena, how do you feel about this? Uzomisa kanjani? And Monde is like, right now, I do not have the answers njengamanje, and angazi nami ngizothini. And cousin suggests ukuthi okay, at some point they will have to tell the elders, which are the uncles. Here is another thing nje vele yangisolisa mina ukuthi ayikho yini into ekhona, because now it's like angisamthemba uGogo Skhotheni. I was like, hey, I wonder if there's nothing between this cousin and uGogo Skhotheni, because the fact that he wasn't shocked about the fact that Utomi has omunye umuntu or wants to take omunye umuntu, and the fact that Monde was also emphasizing ukuthi they are close, this cousin, with uGogo Skhotheni, it made me feel like there is a possibility yokuthi there's something between the two of them. Is the cousin not even the second husband? Pelaskaya as a husband, abakasho ukuthi kahle kahle. Or they did say, oh, it can't be the cousin. But in Solile, when they were having this conversation, isn't there something between Utomi and this cousin? But they did say with article, the second husband is actually a high school sweetheart Gogo Skhotheni. So it's somebody that she dated, I think in grade 8 or 9 or 10 in high school, and they broke up and then came back. So it can't be this cousin. I hope not. I hope not. But I think Solisile, the way he wasn't shocked, and the fact that Monde emphasized that they are closed. And then the conclusion, cousin, was that abavele bamloye uGogo Skhotheni angazi ukuthi isangoma uzosiloya kanjani, because phela if isangoma sangempela they will know even before usifakele lowo muthi ukuthi ufuna ukusiloya, and uzomloya kanjani umuntu osekuloyiyo le wena already. So kuyaloyana lana lo loya, but they concluded ukuthi bazomloya futhi bazomdlisa ukuthi akhohlwe second husband, which probably didn't work ke ngoba naku we've heard that the second husband already has been married to the family. And then this is the next thing. It was Utumi talking to her dad. It was the first time that I've seen Obawake. I couldn't remember in the past 4 episodes if we've seen him. For me, it was the first time. And so she gave us a little bit of a background when it comes to her dad. Apparently, her dad was very rich growing up. Gogo Skhotheni went to a private school, but he struggled with gambling, and at some point he struggled so much that he lost a lot, that Gogo Skhotheni had to go back to isikole saselokishini from a public school. She talks a little bit about how difficult that is, uphuma from a private school where kukhulunywa isiNgisi and to go and learn ngesiZulu. So she talks about how difficult that has been, but she also talks about how supportive her father has been with her spiritual journey, her being isangoma and all of that. He has always been there for her. So her father comes to her house. It was the first time that I saw that Smolanyana couch. I guess it's the area where they haven't shot at before. And I feel Babake he looks very young. Not young as in Pella, young, but to be Gogo Skhotheni, he looks quite young, and it looks like ubaba usa active. We'll put him maybe kuma 50s kanjena, futhi lama 50s abantu aba fresh while in their 50s, you know. So they talk, updating each other about life, and then go samtshela about this thing, your husband number 2. This was a very confusing conversation, because initially mayamtshela about it, ubaba is shocked. And it's like, no, there's no way. This is embarrassing. This is going to embarrass the family. What am I going to say to Monde? Monde is as good as my son now. Why would you do that to him? You know, how is he going to feel as a man, you know? And Gogo Skhotheni goes on about how everybody is selfish. She says these people are just all selfish. My family is just, all of them are just selfish. They're not thinking for me, they're thinking for themselves, you know. So, and then, but towards the end of the scene, Ubaba was like, okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll speak to your mom. I'll speak to Monde, because Gogo Skhotheni was saying she feels like Monde would change his mind if Ubaba speaks to him, because they are very close, which is nice that they're very close. So he feels like he will change his mind. So he promises to speak to everybody and soften everybody, even his brothers, who are Gogo Skhotheni's uncles. That conversation was weird. It was like 1 minute, Ubaba Gogo Skhotheni is like against the idea, doesn't want anything to do with this. It's embarrassing, and this has never been done before. This has never been seen before. It's not gonna happen. To being okay, no, I'll see. I'll talk to them. So I feel like there's a big chunk of a conversation that they cut out. There is a possibility that it didn't feel like it flowed naturally from him disagreeing with the idea to him agreeing with the idea of taking a second husband. It didn't feel like it connected. It was like it was one conversation and then it was another. I just felt like that. Or maybe, maybe, he was like, no, and then they cut, and then they whoever is directing the scene was like, no, Baba, siya actor lana, just vuma ngoba vele it's akuyona into yangempela lena, we're just acting for the show. And then Baba was like, okay, that is possible too, you guys, because even though they do say that Utumi has already married the second husband, the fact that when they talked about the second husband, there was so much focus on talking about second season. I did feel like there is a possibility that they're setting this whole thing up for the second season. So even though he's been married to the family, there is a possibility that it's all a storyline for season 2. But then we will see, especially because we haven't seen this man. So there's so many possibilities for now. But anyway, the dad ends up agreeing that okay, agreeing with he will speak to the rest of the family. And yeah, anyway, you guys, I mean, my explanation got to me. I guess the reason is always the same. The reason is always Gogo Skhotheni wants her to take the second person, and Kiba Demo, it's not me, you know, I'm not the one. Kiba Demo, they want me to take the second person and all of that. So Umile, in the same reason, every time she talks about it, reason yake iyafana all the time. So I don't know, you guys, whether it really is because it's true that there is her reason, or Tumi usthandela abantu ababili and do not want to let go of any of them. Anyway, okay. The last scene, it was Monde no Tumi. She's back to being pregnant. She's back to being pregnant. I think it's in the morning, and Utumi is making tea for both of them, but not Utumi Monde. And Utumi is not okay. She's pregnant. Okay, I think she's in pain, and they decide to go to bazohamba ubona. So Monde decided to abahamba ubona. He is saying that even though they haven't resolved their issues, and he still hasn't accepted what Utumi wants to do, but he still feels like he needs to still be responsible as a man and take care of her, and if he's sick then he will take her to the doctor, obviously. So he takes her to the doctor. They go to the doctor. It didn't sound like the doctor has seen them before, because at points she was asking them questions that I thought, if Utotela Wabo that sees them all the time, she should know, you know. They do the ultrasound, the baby is okay, but they're not revealing if it's a girl or a boy. And yeah, and then they say she's 5 months pregnant. She still has a long way to go. And so think about this baby, we've actually seen the baby already being like a few months old, but but then they went back to her being pregnant. And then okay, so they decided they're not gonna reveal the sex of the baby, and the doctor says now he wants to be part of the process when they do the whole reveal. I don't know how they're going to do it. Anyway, you guys, the doctor leaves them in the room for Utumu Utaqoke and everything, and then Utumu starts talking about in the diary section. There's a point where she says indaba yokuthi akacabanga ukuthi ingane kungenzeka kungabi ekatumi, because she hardly ever sleeps out, you know. But then when they are at the doctors, she says ukuthi she tells Utumi ukuthi udoctor nje yabona futhi the story, because it's almost like Utumi was surprised ukuthi she's 5 months pregnant. How can you get to 5 months pregnant without knowing how far you are, you know? Because the minute you find out you're pregnant, that's when you find out how far you are. 2 weeks pregnant. Great. It's like she was surprised that the doctor is saying they are 5 months pregnant. And then she starts saying, because we are 5 months pregnant, I don't think that we were active at that point. But I'm like, but this is your husband, you live with him. How do you say that? You know? She doesn't think that the baby ega Monde because she feels like they were not active 5 months ago. That is the reason. Obviously, Monde is upset about the whole thing. He's shouting at the doctors, how can you say that? How can you just confidently say that? Especially if it's at the doctors. I don't even understand why she would say that. God, doctor, why didn't she wait until she gets home and tell Monde, okay, there are possibilities of Monde is upset, understandably so. Who wouldn't understand? Yeah, and then they end up just fighting at the doctor. Listen, Utumi is one of those people that will do something that you feel like, how selfish of you, but she always feels like everybody else is selfish, not her. Really, honestly, I'm starting to believe Utumi ungenwe indoda, because ucabangisa wendoda uselfish lo kwendoda, like indoda doesn't care about ama feelings abantu. Mefuna umuntu wesibili ufuna umuntu wesibili, you know. Indoda ingahamba yothola ingane lapha ngaphandle and expect you to accept it ingane and be like, hayi kwenzeka iphutha, we can just raise the baby, let's continue here with us. Like, honestly, that's how behavior yakhe. I just feel like ayi ungenwe indoda ngempela, because ucabanga njengendoda ngempela nje kule relationship yabo. Anyway, you guys, like I've repeatedly said, when we're watching these shows, there's always possibilities that it's reality, but there's always possibilities that they, basinika nje drama ezinye izinto, they change them so that it can be dramatic. Because even though Monde was very upset about ingane possibly not being his, but I felt like still it wasn't, his emotions were not enough for that big thing. You for 5 months now you've been expecting you're going to have a child, and then at 5 months you're being told this child might not be yours with somebody that you are considered married to. So I feel like yes, he was emotional, but not as upset as I would think he would have been. That's why sometimes in solo would say ngathi like act nje kudlalwa ngathi. Yeah, but that was the episode for today, you guys. I guess maybe now it makes sense ukuthi mhlambe they ended up getting married with that guy, because I always felt like, how did the family Tumi accept ilobola from another person? Because that scene that they shot with her mom and her grandmother, they were refusing. They were like, you're not gonna do that. So maybe it makes sense now that maybe her father is going to go back to the family and convince them to support a decision Tumi to take the second husband. Maybe that's how the whole thing ended up happening. No manga, excuse me, we're just watching a manga. We don't know, but we will continue getting entertained, because it is entertaining indeed. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the review. Please like the video before you share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Nginithanda kakhulu.